But I am just being led. I am trusting fully myself, my ideas, my project, my feelings. And then it becomes easy and the doors begin to open. Okay, let's do this. Take one.
Okay. You changed your life quite dramatically. How did you end up here?
Yes, I changed my life dramatically because I was born in a conservative family in Costa Rica, half Costa Rican, half German, and they always had, aspirations that the kids grow up the best possible way and can have the most opportunity. So these are really the motivations of my parents, which are noble and are the motivations of every good parent. It's just that we are living in times where all the paths that a normal person is allowed to take allowed by the society are very set and are very limited. You cannot diverge. You cannot go off the path because they will try to reel you in again. So at the moment, I didn't know anything. I was good in school, so they encouraged me to study engineering, and for me that sounded simply really good. So I ended up having a scholarship to go do my bachelor's in the US, and I did very well there. And then um, I started my first job in Costa Rica, and it felt good to make my own money. So I was completely caught what you could call the system, but in a very naive way and simply enjoying the opportunities that I was being presented. After that, I got the chance to go do my master's in Germany, and then ended up living in Germany for 18 years. I worked at BMW, which for somebody who grew up in Costa Rica, it's a great achievement. I had a really good salary, a really comfortable life, and yes, everybody I talked to in Costa Rica was so impressed about what I had achieved and used me as a role model, as an example for their kids and stuff like that. So I was kind of, I would say, at the top of what you think you can achieve as a person coming from Costa Rica. And all of a sudden I saw myself like really confused. Like I didn't know why, but I was not happy. I could not really pinpoint what the reason was. I remember back then my girlfriend told me that she could not imagine how I could do this office job for 8 hours a day, that she saw me doing something else, maybe with my creativity, with my music, or with my love for nature. And I couldn't understand her back then at all. Um, but this situation of uncomfort continued and got worse and worse. I began to be depressed. I began to really hate that today is Sunday and tomorrow I have to go to work, and I was simply no longer resonating with the frequency of such a corporation and their goals and their values. I was noticing that I was growing up in a different way, in a way where I really wanted to do something more creative. Where I remember looking out the window in my office and saying that it's a beautiful day. What am I doing here? I hate these meetings. I don't like the way decisions are being made in the corporation, and I just disagree with so much, and I would so much rather go do something else with my time. I felt simply stuck and unauthentic. I started to feel like I was an imposter. Like, who is this person? I didn't recognize myself. And there was a pivotal moment. I remember I was in China doing some work there, and I had to be having daily meetings with our partners in China because I was going to explain to them how to perform a certain test cascade for a certain system. And I remember we were in an office that had cameras everywhere because they use that room as conference room, whatever. The thing is that I was observing myself in a TV from an angle that is not normal. It's not from the front. You're used to seeing yourself in the mirror from the front, but there was like this camera like behind me, and I was looking at myself as I was talking in this meeting, and for a moment I was like, who is that? Who's that guy? I don't know him. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what he's saying. I don't know why he's saying what he's saying and why he's here in this office. And yes, it got to the point that I got burnout, and then I went to see a therapist, and that ended up to be another pivotal point in my life. Like this person, I was lucky enough to find a person that was so understanding and so knowledgeable and very spiritual woman. Basically, I went to her to tell her, look, I can't be in my work anymore. I simply, my body wants to reject it. Like I am getting sick, and I have this dream. I am a creative person. I do music. I bought this piece of land in Costa Rica with, I don't know, which I intuitively bought because I really wanted to have a piece of nature and do something with it. But I feel stuck. I feel like I cannot quit because I wouldn't know even how to start to try to monetize on my own. And I have these big plans and ideas and projects, but I kind of feel stuck in the position where I am now. And she asked more about this project that I had in Costa Rica, and she started to listen and started to see my emotion as I was explaining it. And after a few sessions, for her it's very clear. Actually, I went there to ask her if I was crazy. I wanted to know from a professional in the field to tell me if the kinds of things that I want to do in my ideas, if that's normal, or if I am really going crazy. And after like 3 sessions or 4 sessions, she told me, rest assured, you're not crazy. And if you asked me, I would tell you to go do that, exactly, go do that you told me about, that place in Costa Rica that you bought. And I was like, really?
She gave you permission?
Yeah, she gave me permission. She gave me permission to do it, because in my head I was like, no. I also thought at the beginning, what are people going to say, right? How are my parents going to react? Mm-hmm. And stuff like that, which absolutely has nothing to do with your path. And that's the first time where I thought, okay, so this person has noticed from my energy that when I talk about my project in Costa Rica, I am excited. My eyes light up. And when I talk about my job in the office, I am down and my energy goes down and I really don't like it. For her, it was super clear, but for me, for some reason at the time, it wasn't. So that was pivotal, because for the first time, I heard it from somebody else that this is actually what she recommends me to do as a professional. And then I began to really feel like this is obvious. This is obvious. Once that fear was out of the way, mm-hmm. Or how you said it, once I got permission to think in those terms, I was like, this is the most obvious thing.
How did you reconcile with those feelings and just keep living and keep doing what you were doing, knowing you had these conflicting emotions?
Yes, very conflicting. I felt like an imposter. I felt like I was playing a role that I didn't want to. And it was horrible. Mm-hmm. It made me depressed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What was the decision like for you to finally get the permission to live your dream, but then to actually do it is another thing? So what was that like for you?
No, that was easy because, like I said, once I got the permission, that not only this is what I should do, but if I do it, I will thrive. My therapist explained to me, how does it feel when you think about your project? And how does it feel when you think about your job that you've been having? This experience is so, you cannot ignore it. When you begin to feel, well, when I think about my project in Costa Rica, I feel so excited, I feel so happy. that makes me even emotional. And for me, that was very clear, because I believe a lot in energies, and that the kind of energy that you are is what you're going to continue to attract. And then she made it very clear to me that you cannot continue living a life where you don't feel good about what you're doing, where your energy is low. That has no future. That is going to do a crash landing sooner or later. But if you are doing every day what you love, you cannot fail. You cannot fail, because there is something else that drives you. It's not just from you. There is something higher that is driving you every day, because you love what you do. So every day it accumulates. So once I understood this truth, for the rest of the decision was obvious. It's like the easiest thing. And not only that, but once I really took the decision to quit my previous life, everything started to line up. All the doors were being opened at the same time. It was many synchronicities at the same time. So this is something that I also understood as more encouragement to continue to do it. And this is the way I live now. I live day by day, observing the feedback of the universe and looking out for those synchronicities and those signals that are telling me you're doing the right things, even though sometimes it seems like it would be hard to decide things like that. Quit a well-paying job, a very comfortable life, and go do something that nobody else has done, or at least in my sphere of influence. That's something I have no idea how to do, but I am just being led. I am trusting fully myself, my ideas, my project, my feelings, and then it becomes easy, and the doors begin to open. To name a few of those synchronicities, well, as soon as I started to contemplate this as a very, very true reality that I was going to make happen, the pandemic strikes, and all of a sudden they start to offer packages for people who want to leave, because they can't fire people, but they can offer a package. So if people decide to leave, they can cash in the bonus. And I was one of the first ones. I was like, yep, this is for me, because I understood that this is going to happen. And at the same time, I met Manuela. And when I told Manuela about my project in Costa Rica, but I was still unsure, she was like, what are you doing here? You need to go do that. You need to be doing that. So many important people in my life are telling me to do this. The synchronicities start to pop up like popcorn. The doors are being opened, also financially, because that was one of the things I was, really uncertain about. So for me, it was very obvious.
And how did you decide to buy the specific property? Was there something that you felt called to, or how did that decision arise?
Yes, at the time I was looking to buy a property in Costa Rica with a piece of nature, because I really wanted to have the forest right there where I live. And I looked for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden my dad showed me an ad, and he's like, I think you would be interested in this. And I came to see the property, and I was just struck by awe of the energy of this place. And specifically, well, the waterfall is the first thing that I was like, I can't believe this hidden gem is here, right in front of the property. So to speak, we have beachfront. And simply beautiful, like from a movie. And then also the big Guanacaste tree that we have here, which has become the center of the gardens and our ritual space, our sacred space. It's a 300-year-old Guanacaste tree that spans a huge shade in the beautiful garden. So that's another thing. And then the mountain that we have here in the north, that is so steep that has been left the way it is forever, and has amazing diversity. We call it the broccoli. From afar, it looks like a broccoli. It's so tight and so diverse and so lush. And every time I look at that mountain, I feel the energy of that untouched diversity simply vibrating there and affecting us here too. And at the moment, this place was very different. This was 11 years ago. And another reason why I was able to buy is it's because it was affordable, because it was considered marginal lands. The soil was completely degraded. The land had been pretty much abused for 100 years before I bought here. That's the reason why it was affordable for me. But everything, I saw the potential. Everything else clicked immediately. The energy was still intact, and I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but something in me made me realize this is actually what you want. What you want is to work with the land. You want to regenerate this piece of land. That's kind of what I understood and what was my feeling. And it was very spontaneous, but I did it. The fact that this place was in need of intervention kind of spoke to me personally, because I needed intervention. And the way I have been seeing this place is as a mirror of my own healing.
Yeah, it almost is like it reflected what you were in a particular moment, and you could see that, and you see this place, and you see yourself in it.
That's exactly what has been happening. As we regenerate the nature in this place, I feel that I too heal at the same time. So it's something that is happening like a unified movement. As I heal the land, I heal myself. And it has been a long process here, because, as I told you, the land had been pretty much abused for 100 years. First, they cut the original forest to plant beans. Then came the Green Revolution, and they started spraying, all kinds of chemicals on top of their crops, unknowingly thinking this was the ways of the modern times, and this was the way to go. Well, little did they know that they were going to actually just kill off the microbial diversity and the insects and everything, and that would start a chain reaction that has been taking us like 10 years to recover from. But the abuse continued. Later they cut the crops and put cows, because it was more profitable. And with the cows came an invasive grass that they planted, because it's great if you want to feed cows, but as soon as the cows are gone, the grass grows uncontrollably and takes over all the other species and gives shade to other local ground covers and everything. And that's the point where it was no longer going to recover unless somebody does something about it. So it has been a lot of time to put this place back in the paradise that it is now. I remember it began because we had to chop all of this invasive grass by hand. I obviously was not going to continue the abuse with more chemicals. And slowly, with the years, after about 4 years, I start to notice some of the local grasses to come back, some of the local weeds to appear here and there. I was so happy to see that. Now we have the full diversity back, which is amazing. There is no more of that invasive grass. We have taken it all one by one and more, because it continues to reproduce. The seed is everywhere, so the seed keeps sprouting, and I keep pulling, and now I can say that there is practically no more of that invasive grass. There is only the local nature. Actually, we find sometimes weeds here that even the elders in town vaguely remember from childhood. Specific flowers that are wild or things like that, they are all here. So these plants will attract the correct insects, the pollinators, the butterflies, and with that the birds. So that's how you build up the vitality and the health of these lands. And like I said, by doing that, I am also completely healing myself. So this has been for me not only an experience. It has been a whole transformation.